So Amy Fabrikant, her information is in the book.
Thank you.
And we want you to look it over.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here. Truly. I messed it up. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to touch it again. So I'm so honored to be here because this conference has been like a font of information, but also a community and a sense of hope. And I think that that's a really important thing for all of us. I know for me, if I'm trying to figure things out, doing it alone is a lot harder. There's an expression, if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, you go alone. And if you want to go far, you go together. And so that's a lot about the Annie Appleseed community and the information that's here and the people that are here. So I'll just say very quickly a few things about myself so that we can get started, and I'll share a little bit about what we're going to do. Because the room is set up, it's very hard for us to literally be in a circle. So we're going to think about, as we're doing things together today, about us creating our own small circles in our sections, and it may just be a circle of two, but I do want you to make sure that you are connected to somebody close by, because this is experiential, so you're going to be working together and practicing a couple of things. So that's important that you, it's sometimes uncomfortable to move, you're situated and comfortable. Make sure that you can speak to somebody with ease. Okay. So my name is Amy, and I have a few important things to share today with you. And I do a lot of my work in the New York City Public Schools with the Department of Education around bringing in practices that are alternative, counterculture. And what do they need? We need to heal. These are communities that are very broken. And there's communities and schools, things aren't working. We know about what's happening with our youth. We hear these things. But what does this have to do with speaking to illness in our physical bodies? I hope that that'll become clear after we shared this time together, okay? My personal journey to my own healing, my own physical body, happened a number of years ago when, about 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with 2 different types of cells that looked problematic. I had 2 breast surgeries. I had separate issues in my hips, in my hip, my knee, and the bottom of my foot bones in all of these places, so speaking with orthopedists. And then finally, with an autoimmune disease, that's how I was diagnosed, with a very difficult prognosis or protocol of radiation therapy for a year. And while this was all happening, all of these different specialists were telling me things that were very scary. And there wasn't a lot of communication between all the different specialists. And things weren't making sense. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't feel like I had to have all of these surgeries. According to them, I was scheduled for a year of radiation and basically 5 surgeries. I was told I wouldn't be able to walk, and I loved to walk, and I wasn't able to do yoga, and I loved to do yoga and practice yoga. And one thing led to another, and I found alternatives or other voices that were very quiet. The dominant medical culture wasn't speaking about other things. There was sort of one protocol for each of these different diagnoses. So, long story short, I found these quieter voices and these communities, and I was able to, from within, I'd say, 2 years, have absolutely no medical issues that required any kind of outside care. But what I had learned is that the certain beliefs and practices that I was implementing for myself was really helpful. And then I started to have a little bit more courage when I heard other people were struggling to say, would you like to know what I did? And would you be interested in doing some of this with me? I'd be happy to do it. And so over the past 10, 15 years, I've been working with family and friends and colleagues, and there's been an awful lot of healing. And now, with such great joy, the last 3 years I've been working with the Department of Education, an institution like the medical institution with all of their protocols and all of their systems, and we're doing things counterculture. And they're based, a lot of these things are based on Native American practices. So I'd like to start now. That's a little bit about me. You'll learn more with our time together, and hopefully we'll hear a few of you will share out some things after we experience some practices, and we'll get to know a little bit more about each other. I'd like to start, with your permission, with a land acknowledgement, and that is that we are on occupied land of the Seminole and, I hope I get this right, Miccosukee. So how do you pronounce it? Miccosukee. Okay. So that's just two tribes of hundreds and hundreds of tribes that occupy this land from sea to sea, the entire continent. So let's just take a moment to acknowledge that. And with that acknowledgement, I'd like to say the first practice actually is about acknowledging what is this culture. We live here. This is where we live. What is landing on us? What affects our bodies? And in the Native American practice, as I think many of us will attest, how many of you, just raise your hand, have had some understanding or interest or understand and know the history of Native American people, either here in Florida or in general in the United States? Just raise your hand. So a few of us. Great. Why is this important? Because we live within all of these systems. Thank you. And the systems largely that are affecting us are these systems that oppress our bodies. And they oppress us, but not just in the physical form. They oppress us in the emotional state, the spiritual, energetic state, the mind, mental, intellect state, and the physical. And those four realms were honored by Native people in our country where we live. And if we were to trace back our ancestry to the well ones of our own ancestry and our own bloodlines, we would find a lot of similar practices. People understood we're not just one way. Our dominant culture doesn't necessarily allow for that. So I'm in places, I'm doing work of liberation in places that honor only intellect and physical form. And if you speak to any young person, they will tell you how deeply oppressed they feel. And there's also something else in schools, and that's adultism, where adults think they have all the answers. But we're the adults here. So we also want to understand, what are the practices that limit us? What thoughts are we carrying that limit us, where we're not free to be our fullest self? And this directly connects to your physical health, to my physical health, and the way we're all interconnected to the collective well-being. So I'd like to share with you our first practice now. And that is so that we can build a higher energy life state and be able to employ practices of other ways, right, other than the dominant medical culture. So the first practice, you will need to get a piece of paper. I think you all have a pad and a pen. How are we doing? You with me? Okay. I'm just looking at faces like, wait, what is this? We're here for, okay. You know, the doctor before me, that was really impressive. But I promise you that this has been life-changing, not just for me, but for every person and every young person, any age. And I do believe this very exercise is a foundational piece to self-connection, self-reflection, and self-awareness. And guess what? It's sort of the good and bad news. It's a lifelong practice. So you're never an expert, because in any moment or any situation, you get a diagnosis, you hear some news, something's happening, and all of a sudden your well-being isn't there and you're activated. So here we go in our first exercise into a practice I hope, I pray for all of us, that we can keep coming back to. So take your piece of paper and make a line down the center, please. It's a suggestion so that you can clearly decipher the first column, the left column. I'm going to ask you now to reflect on the earliest messages, the times that, from the time you were born, let's try to dwell in the earliest years and then you can move forward. How did the world define you? And I'm going to give some suggestions of categories or identities. And I'd like you to just list, they can just be words, in terms of your race, in terms of your gender. In school, like those, because of the racialized and genderized world we live in, they are two of the most oppressive influences on our bodies and our health. Our gender, our sexuality, our religion, I said race, economic class, your family status. What kind of families? Mine was very chaotic. When I was growing up, there was a lot of mental unwellness. And so why I said to dwell on those early years is because there's something called attachment and how you attune with your caretakers. And I didn't have a lot of that. So it's been a lifelong learning for me in that reconnection. And trying to find ways that actually fuel me to be my best self. So thinking about that, keep working in terms of thinking of your education, your work, mental ability, intellectual ability, emotional ability, your social skills, your attractiveness, musical, athletic, artistic ability, your personality type, any other category I haven't mentioned. What are the ways people have labeled you? And you can just write down, these are names. I'll just give you a minute thinking about that, and you might want to even put a little note to yourself, are any of these hard to write down? Are any of these embarrassing? Are they really surprising? Thumbs up if you feel finished on your list, just so I get an idea. Thumbs up if you're done. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Another 30 seconds. This is an intro session, and it would be my great honor if you'd like to contact me. We can work together. I do Zoom calls with people from all over the world. It's very simple and easy these days, so we can make technology be our friend. Okay. And you can come back to this. This list is not exhaustive. So let's move to the other side, the right-hand side, okay? If we look at this, we're going to look at our earliest messages. Now we want to see, when's the first message? When's the first time you remember a little story? We call them personal narratives when we're doing writing and doing these activities in schools. We ask kids to write literally a 2-minute narrative about this moment in time. A narrative means it has a place, a setting where it takes place. You're somewhere. There are people. People are usually saying things. So this could be this type of really short story where something's said, you're in a place. Something happens, right? There's some moment around this identity, and then there's some takeaway from that. That's the narrative. It's really small. Could be the time span of 1 minute. So again, I'm going to try to urge you, go back in time, not to unearth all your childhood wounds here, because I'm not a therapist and we're not looking to go into this a deep, dark place, but we do also want to have awareness. So you might want to just jot down some memories, and you will see as they go down, like you'll start with 0 to 7, and then you'll move into maybe 8 through your teens, then a young adult, thinking about Where are the stories that come that match these identities? What got cemented in you as your belief system? This is really important because there's a lot of stuff we carry around, but it doesn't belong to us. I learned this from my parents, right? That they loved me dearly, and they didn't have skill, and they were suffering. And so their own fears became mine. And it took a lifetime to be able to separate that and have compassion for them and a lot of compassion for myself. And this is, like I said, a foundational piece. I really don't think you can be the best version of yourself until you have really looked at this, and like I said, for a lifetime. I don't mean to be glib about it, but we got to have a little bit of lightheartedness because we're just human. And we have moments of enlightenment. We just want more of those moments so that we can live really fully. Okay, thumbs up. We've written a couple of stories down. This is just the beginning. All right. I'm not seeing too many thumbs up. Thumbs up, thank you. Do you have at least 2 stories? In just a moment, you don't have to write the whole story out. A guided practice for writing workshop. You can take this list and just write down little keywords to remind you of that story, and you can come back to it. And it's great. Great journaling. I'm going to ask us to give yourself a marker if you're in the middle of something, where you're headed, so you can just remind yourself to come back to it. So that we're going to do an exercise now, practicing something that I think is so sacred, and I do not see tons of evidence of it, and that is active listening. Listening where your whole body is aligning with the person speaking. And it's not about your response. It's about you being present for another human being. And so we're going to try this now. This is where you need to connect with somebody next to you. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, say your name, say a little bit, like maybe one 30-second introduction, what brought you here, whether it's a difficult diagnosis for yourself or a loved one, whether it is curiosity or another reason. And then I'm going to ask you to decide who's going to be a speaker, who's going to be the listener to start, and then I'll switch. I'm going to keep track of time. You're each going to have a minute to speak. Speakers, you have the full minute. Listeners, no talking. And you're going to show with your body that you're listening. So what I'd like to do is look up at me when you have a partner. I'm going to put my hand up for a time for when the time is up. And I guess I could also play a little tune on my phone here. So find a partner, and I'm going to give you a hands up to start, and then my hand will go up. Yes? You are. You're going to share one story on your list. If you didn't write a story, you can share maybe some of the identities. This is your minute to share what are you carrying, what are the messages you're carrying with you. So let's take I just want you to know something. This is what we're going to kind of challenge ourselves. My middle school students can do this in about 10 seconds. They can partner up, and we're ready to go. We don't waste too much time in between, so we have lots of great time listening and speaking. So let's see. Can you do it in 10 seconds? Can everybody here show me your hands up when you have a partner? Who needs a partner? Hands. Okay, thank you. Hands down. Who needs a partner? Anybody want some help? We're a community. We'll help each other. We're in this together. Okay. So, you're going to have 1 minute. I'm going to give you a chance to introduce yourselves, share your moment, and I will then let you know when a minute is up. So all you have to do right now is decide who's going to speak first. And you can face your partner or not. That's up to the two of you, how you would like to speak, and begin. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Would you please now take a moment, take a breath, and we're going to switch roles. Speaker is now listener, listener is now speaker, and begin. Introduce yourselves, don't forget. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for participating. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. So, would someone like to share what that felt like? Either any part of that, the examining our the definitions of ourselves, the way the world sees us, the earliest memories of when we started to own those identities, and or what it felt like to have this active listening of speaking and of listening and having that designated minute. Does anybody feel comfortable to share? Yes. Yeah. It's easy to I'm just sharing, it's easy to share with a stranger. Something that might be more challenging to share out with someone you know well. I know, I was thinking that as I see certain people here that look like they've been together a long time, that sometimes it's harder to have this type of this practice. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. How are we doing? Okay? Thumbs up, you're okay? Just okay? Or not good? Okay. Okay, good. Okay, here let's feel our energy go up now. Now, on another piece of paper, let's just save paper. Turn the piece of paper around and make a shape in as big as you'd like on this piece of paper. I like to do either a heart or a star because this is now where you're going to fill in who you are at your very best, okay? I'd like you to think about like some maybe values of like humor, compassion, kindness, a great listener, caring. Who are you when you are really the fullest, best version of yourself? What's your superpower that you know you can bring when everything's there for you and you are in your centered place? What do people love about you? What do you love about yourself? That goes all in the center. I'm only going to give you like 30 seconds. Now, sometimes it's hard on the spot to think of these things. So you might think of a moment where, you were doing something to help another person. What were you bringing to that? What kind of an emotional state or energetic, spiritual state were you in? For some, it's integrity, honesty, persistence, resistance. What's your superpower that you can bring? It's not hard for you to bring when you're at your best. This is our second activity. So the first, these are two foundational pieces to wellness. They help us, guide us to be able to make the decisions our bodies really need and want. This is the deepest kind of self-connection. Who are you? Only you know. You are the expert of you. Nobody else is. You live with you. So your very best. Now take a moment, and I'd like to ask you to think about the people, the places, and the things. No, I thought maybe that music would come on again. People, the places, and things when you are feeling your very best. So who are you with? When there are certain people. When do you feel really solid, secure, happy, joyful, energetic, hopeful, optimistic, encouraged, relaxed, centered, loving, warm-hearted, open-hearted? Who are you with? Maybe then the next question is, where are you? Maybe right here, right now. Annie Appleseed. This community. Maybe it was speaking with your partner. So where are the places? Because we want to start to take notice when our bodies are really happy. And the more self-connection we have like that, we're going to see a lot more healing no matter what modalities you actually go or what protocols you choose. You will be making those choices as the expert of yourself. So thinking about that, also what objects. Sometimes there's certain objects that have energy. For me, I love stones. And when I'm hiking, I'll feel a stone calling to me. And if I feel it's okay, try not to take things from the earth, but if I feel it's okay, I might hold it, take a picture of it. I've taken some. Try not to do that anymore. What objects, what people, and what places surround the shape that you've made of your best self with those things. And this is the other place that we can keep coming back to because it's not a static thing. It changes. Our bodies change, people change, places change. Energy is shifting and moving constantly. Okay, so because I want us to move into a third activity, I'm going to give us 30 seconds to share with our partners again. And if I noticed some people are 3. If you're 3, you think if you could try to squeeze out, carve the space for three speakers. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to share out one thing in the center. What's one of your superpowers? And one person, place, or thing that really is one of those supports for you that really helps you glow, okay? So get ready to have this conversation, this really, really mini micro conversation with your partner or partners, and ready and begin. Okay, I gave more than 30 seconds. That was a full minute. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate these conversations and hearing that you're not wanting to stop Makes me so happy. Really. Love it. How's your body feeling now? Does it feel a little bit better than it did before? It may not. It's okay. Anything we feel, this is going to move us into our third activity, and then we're going to end with a meditation. But this is really important. The world constantly tells us how we should be feeling. Why? I just finished a biography of Mr. Rogers, and I didn't know a lot about him. And so I read this book, and I liked some of the ideas in it very much. And one of the things I took away from it was that anything that's mentionable is manageable. I love that. Anything that's mentionable is manageable. And I'm bringing that to every school I go to, and I say, every feeling you feel that. You feel your feels. You own it. Because why not? Anger isn't bad. What's wrong with anger? Someone just yesterday said sometimes people need a good kick in the, anger's necessary. Sadness, grief. Yeah, we need it. So anything that's mentionable is manageable. So this will move us into the next exercise. And there's a chart that's going around. We made copies for everybody to take home. This chart I created with a colleague. I forgot to mention I'm a children's book author as well. And this chart is in the back of my most recent children's book that just came out last year called Paloma's Secret, or it's also in Spanish, El Secreto de Paloma. And the chart and the book is about normalizing what's prevalent in our world. And certainly for me, I can speak personally in myself and my family about anxiety and depression. I see in the back there that we need a couple more. They're going to come around. So the idea is, how do we allow for any feeling that comes up? And because our world, right, our dominant culture allows for certain feelings. Often we're told, get yourself together, like go someplace else, pull yourself together, and come back when you're ready. This is a very common thing in classrooms, But how does one go pull themselves together alone out there? Does something magical happen the minute you step outside a door? And for myself, I'm really examining when I feel ashamed, because I'm thinking all the shame that I carry, that's part of that, and I believe that may be common for many people as well. I want us to look at this sheet, and it's almost with everybody. In the back, I know that we still need two more back there. Thank you, Greg, for being the most awesome partner and real life partner of 32 years. Lots of hard work. And my great teacher. So here's what we made this list for. We did some research. Have you heard of Abraham Maslow? Let me just look at the time, right? The pyramid of needs. So we've got, by the way, on my website, all of these resources are free. And I hope that you will visit, share it with others, download, and use, and share with others, because it's incredibly helpful. There's a couple other really important things on it. Okay, so why is this important? Well, we know from Maslow that we have these needs. And in Maslow's terms, first you have to have your physical needs met, and then it's a safety factor, and then it's belonging, and then it's self-esteem, and then finally you get to self-actualization, where you're an enlightened, centered, wonderful, the best you, right? Everything that's in the center of that shape, right? You're self-actualized in those moments. So we know what that's like. It's just we don't have that state of being all the time. And I don't know anybody who does. I heard the Dalai Lama speak, and he said he gets angry. I felt so happy. I was like, oh, that's great, because he's chanting and he's working it all the time, And he said he gets angry, but he only gets angry for 10 seconds. I was like, okay, that's a little different than I am, but I'm working on it. But the thing is, I love the fact that it's a human emotion, and it's also, the important thing about that is that we're all human, and I'm often looking for things that are universal, meaning it applies to every single human being, regardless of your race, regardless of your age, your gender identity, your sexual identity. None of that is significant when we're talking about human beings, Homo sapiens, and we all are. So the idea that's a little different than Maslow's needs is this other, I'm just going to tell you very briefly, and it's Manfred Max Neef. And these ideas from Chile, and he thought of the needs as there were 9 universal needs. 9. It's a very finite amount. Feelings, there's many feelings. 9 needs every one of us have. And when they're not being met, you will get activated, and you will know because you'll have a feeling. That's why feelings are so important. We don't want to dismiss them anywhere. Whatever comes up, remember, if it's mentionable, it's manageable. Mention it, notice it. So what we're hoping to do with these 3 exercises is start to get connection between our bodies and our feelings, right? The emotional state, the physical form. The feelings are ding ding, emotion, something's happening. And then you have a need. Now, the need could be a physical need. If I asked you, what's the thing you need most right now? You could say there could be many things. You see the list here, right, of needs. If this room were locked and nothing could escape it and it started filling up with water, every single one of us would probably say the number 1 need is air. So needs shift too, depending upon our circumstances. So the physical sometimes the emotional, sometimes the mental, sometimes the energetic and spiritual. All four need to be supported, and only you know when you're in balance, when you're feeding all 4 and your needs are met. No one else. There's no MRI, there's no scan, there's no blood test, there's only your own test, you. And I have found this the most empowering thing. Thank you. Very important. So we're going to move into a meditation. You have this chart, and like I said, if you'd like to explore more with me, it would be my honor to work with you and help you develop these practices. But you don't need me to do that. And the other thing is, before we leave, if you felt any connection with your partner, I highly recommend having what we call an empathy buddy. And you would have that in your partner. If you want to exchange some digits, you could then text each other and ask, are you available for 5 minutes? We'll each talk for 2.5 minutes. One will listen, one will speak, and swap, and you'll have a share. Now, if you think about those needs, belonging, being seen and heard are the most important things for human beings once their physical needs are met. We've literally revolutionized schools that have been completely broken by being seen and heard. Well, and dignity and respect help a lot too, but it comes with the territory. So I'm not even really making a joke. I hope you will exchange numbers. You know about this now. All you need is that chart, and you can share. And then the person, when they finish listening, could say as a question, are you feeling scared because you need more clarity or perspective? Right? You look on the chart, and that's it. There's nothing else. And that's true empathy, right? True empathy. We're not asking more questions. We're not telling what to do. We're not me-tooing. We're not one-upping. We're just listening and then helping people connect their feelings and their needs. How are we doing? Okay? Yes? Thumbs up? You okay? We're going to move on. I'm going to invite you now to put down the pen and paper. I like to have both feet on the ground for meditations because the way energy can move, it has no obstructions. And you may want to put your palms up, which is like an open circuit. You're going to get collective energy from the room. Or you may want your palms down, so that's more closed. You're a closed circuit. It's like the vent. Where's the air coming from? Well, where's the energy coming from? Maybe you want to be a closed circuit or an open circuit. Palms up, palms down, eyes open. I want to take in more. I want to see folks. I want to see what's happening. Or I want to have an experience. Sometimes it's easier to go deeper when your eyes are shut. If you feel comfortable, do whatever your body wants. And the last thing I'm going to say, maybe the two things are that if you have a practice, you can just let my words float away. If you like hearing guided practice, then you might want to listen and see where it goes. If you fall asleep, great. And also, remember we said we're letting go of expectations? So this is an opportunity to allow whatever feelings come up. Maybe your body speaks to you. Maybe you'll feel aches or pains, or you'll feel like an intense boredom or irritation or intense joy or relaxation. All of it's fine. There's just information there for us. No judgment. It's just information. So now you're getting into position, and I like to start with the breath. The first 3 breaths are where it all happens, because that's when we enact the parasympathetic nervous system, so there's no doing. We don't have to try. We automatically feel more relaxed. So I'm going to count us off to start with breathing in together, breathing in 1. And breathing out 1. And breathing in 2. And breathing out 2. And breathing in 3. And breathing out 3. Now feel your body. We're going to start down where our feet are. I'm going to make a suggestion that you think about your toes right now. How do they feel? Are they in socks? Are they in shoes? Are they feeling air? Thinking about the soles of your feet and your heels. What are they feeling? Any kind of message from them? And then can you feel yourself breathe in so that the feet completely surrender to the floor, the carpet underneath them? And the next breath in, allow your breath to move up into your ankles and into your whole calf, knee, and thigh. They've been working hard today. They got you up and out and here. And thinking about our bottoms, our genitals, our hips, our lower abdomen. Breathe deeply into the lower belly. See if you can push lots of air in. And on the exhale, release it slowly, very slowly, gently. We're starting to move into territory where we hold lots of anxiety and messages and beliefs and all kinds of things that have nothing to do with us. So every breath in is an opportunity for energy and life and renewal. And every breath out is a chance to say goodbye to anything that doesn't serve you well. Joyfully, with gratitude, releasing. And as we move up into our upper midsection, Breathe deeply in. Sometimes I like to move my hands right on top of my belly there, as if I'm a child and I can rub and comfort myself. I can sometimes feel my heart beating there. For me, nerves sometimes churn there. And I want to say there. As I breathe deeply in energy and love and all the support that's here, that's always here, right in my very hands. All the generations, all my ancestors, all the wise ones. I'm not alone. We're not alone. Take a deep breath in, moving up into our heart center. Feel the lungs and the chest and the ribs expand. Whatever comes up, it's mentionable, it's manageable. How can I love myself more deeply and fully? This moment, right now, this moment, the most real moment. How can I take this breath, this cherished breath? It travels throughout every cell, all that oxygen. Life force, breathing in life, renewing, loving me, us. And on the exhale, if there's anything there in your heart and your chest and your lungs and your ribs, see if you can let go just a little bit. How much can we trust? We don't have to do everything, and we don't have to have all the answers. We're not alone. How much do I trust? How well will my body guide me to the fullest expression of my life, so that I can truly live, and release my fears and release my anxiety. This moment, this breath, right now, here together, never alone, always loved, always loving. Finally moving up, our breathing deeply into our headspace. Feel the breath in, into the mind. The Buddhist practice, the Nichiren Buddhism, he shared the most hellish of life states is a mind that won't stop. Can we bring a little breath and space into our minds? Our very, very busy minds. Can we allow the mind to take a tiny minute break with this one breath? One breath in, one breath out. Give a little space. Can we trust that we'll just hold on to the messages that are meant from us? From divine and wise, inspirational source that empower us to be our fullest and best self. In a moment, we're closing this meditation. We're going to begin to come back into the space more fully. So let's give ourselves, if you want to put your hands by heart center, a moment, a second of deep gratitude for showing up, for sitting here, for actively participating and listening to yourself and to each other. Really give yourself gratitude. There's so many other places you could be right now. No matter what comes up for you, no matter what you feel, anything that's mentionable is manageable. We're all human. We have the same needs. We have the same bodies. You, of course, are the expert of you. As we come back into the space, slowly bring your breath awareness back into your feet and maybe move your toes a little bit. I recommend if your eyes are shut to keep them shut because it's so bright in here. So take a moment now to move your awareness back up into your knees. You can lift your heels up a little bit. It'll start moving your knees. And you can lift your thighs around off of the chair. You'll start activating both legs. And you can start breathing in your belly, moving your waist. Your eyes can stay closed if they're closed, or open. You might look down. And then slowly on the next inhale, begin to raise your arms up on the next inhale, because when you raise your arms up, you raise your heartbeat. So we get a little bit more energized. On the exhale, slowly bring your hands down in front of you, passing by your face very slowly. We're moving energy now. We're really moving. We're moving that, shifting around the aura around us. And then on the next inhale, big inhale, begin to move your head in any way it feels very slowly comfortable. Sometimes a very slow yes or a slow no, but very, very slowly, gently. And then begin to move your shoulders up, shrugging up, and then on the exhale, releasing down. And then begin to open the eyes more fully. See if you want to do a little exercise on your mouth. It's you turn the first side up to face, kind of going up towards one eye, and then the other side of your mouth up towards the other eye. You might show some teeth. You might start breathing through your mouth. You might even feel like laughing. And I would like to say how honored again. This has been an incredibly glorious hour together. Thank you, and I hope that you find something useful that serves you in the time we spent together in these 3 activities. If not, don't feel embarrassed. Leave the chart behind. Never think about it again. That's fine. You are the expert of you, and I hope you leave here knowing everyone has to collaborate with you. You're the boss. And take that with you. Have a wonderful evening. I hope I'm happy to stay here after, and I hope to see some people mingling about. We can talk more, and I have cards if you feel like you'd like some more guided practice around these foundational pieces of self-connection. Thank you all. Thank you so much.